Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for October 10th through 14th, 2022. Wow, we're still feeling the energy of that intense Aries full moon yesterday. A big culmination with the moon very close to Chiron, the sun opposite Chiron, and this very powerful quest and desire for freedom and autonomy being reborn within us. So that is the energy. It's super highlighting the Jupiter in Aries energy. And Jupiter is retrograde and has come to 1 degree as of today, Aries, getting ready to go to the Aries point, 0 degrees Aries, for the third and final time, or for the second time, as it moves into Virgo, excuse me, the end degrees of Pisces, and then we'll move back into Aries on December 21st. So, this Jupiter retrograde is very powerful, especially opposite Mercury retrograde. So, Mercury is direct now, and Mercury is just about to have its final time passing over the Libra point, the absolute perfection 0 degrees Libra, the utopia moment, which is opposite of the 0 degrees Aries point. And Jupiter going over that Aries point 3 times in its retrograde, very powerful. And so we're going to feel Mercury coming to the end degrees, now direct of Virgo, moving into Libra. And that will happen on the 11th. And so just a couple of days tomorrow. And so now Mercury is at that end point, this zero coming to the 0 degrees Libra, the very end of Virgo. And this indeed has been a retrograde around cleaning up our mind and sorting through our reality and uncovering and coming back into this idyllic utopia. Opposite of Jupiter and Aries, it's saying, we got here to this mess because we compensated away our reality. We said, oh, it's just the way it is. And we allowed nefarious forces to take over and rule our world. And this is coming to an end game. This is the huge message of this time that we're in, because that Aries full moon marks the beginning of eclipse season. And so we're heading into our first eclipse. It's a partial solar eclipse happening on Tuesday, October 25th. And that is very powerful because it is at 2 degrees Scorpio. And just after the Sun and Venus cross over together into Scorpio, very powerful messages for us here. So the Sun and Venus are coming closer and closer together. Venus, we're still, uh, Venus is now just catching up to the Sun after her last retrograde, and the next retrograde for uh, Venus will start in July. So the last retrograde we had was at the beginning of 2021. And that was exactly when this Saturn square Uranus started this whole story. We've just come to the end tomorrow of the exact Saturn square Uranus for the final time that started back in January 2021. We started feeling it. The Saturn square Uranus is about pressure and tension around structures and systems that have not been able to shift and change to reflect our energetic shifts and changes. We're feeling this in our world. It's just like it's we have this alternate fake reality, and more people coming into recognizing that it doesn't add up. And the veil is thinning. We're becoming more aware, seeing through the delusions and the propaganda. And we're at this place where once you realize and see deeper truth, you can't unsee it as much as you'd like to, you know? And kind of we're at this point of that elephant in the room that won't go away. And that's the energy of this eclipse season. So heading into this eclipse, we've got the Sun and Venus coming in closer and closer on the 23rd, moving into the sign of Scorpio together. And then they will be close still for this solar eclipse. So, solar eclipse is a new moon, and that's the sun and the moon together. So, the sun, moon, and Venus right there at 2 degrees, 0 minutes of Scorpio. This is saying we got to come together across the divide. We've got to heal the wounds of separation. We've got to get our right and left brain working together. We've got to forgive and heal the feminine and the masculine within us and come back into the sacred marriage. Exactly the beautiful picture of the utopia energy, 0 degrees Libra, Mercury coming over that point. The way the stars and planets are lining up right now in these messages, it's so profound and so rare. And then to have it all happening at once. So it is one of those times very powerful. And it's saying, hey, pay attention. You are being prepared, you know? So the sun has been in trine, or it comes into exact trine tomorrow or on Wednesday with Saturn. So this whole week we'll be feeling it. And then Venus this weekend will be coming in to a trine with Saturn, just catching up to the sun, building this energy. So what is the deal with the sun and Venus together moving over into Scorpio for a Scorpio eclipse? The sun is who we think we are, and Venus represents our feminine. So now in trine to Saturn, it's about our role and what's kept us from our true role and our true dharma in the Aquarian age that is to come, that we're moving into right now. We've got to change the identity and the role of the feminine in order to do that. And so that's what this is. It's a massive initiation. Speaking of initiation, we've got Mars preparing to turn retrograde. So Mars is just coming into an exact square now that we've been feeling the intense square of Saturn square Uranus, like we were talking about. Now this is coming off exact over the next couple of days, but we're heading right into a Mars square Neptune. And it's kind of hard because it's like Mercury went direct. It was kind of like, oh, there was this energy of like, whoa, can we finally move and see things, move forward, get clarity? And then it's like, oh no, Mars square Neptune. Good luck with that one. And because Mars is turning retrograde, and Mars actually turns retrograde um, on the 31st of October. So it's this very powerful energy of moving in, with the sun and Venus coming together, moving into Scorpio, got that solar eclipse, and then Mars turning retrograde. And also on the 29th of October, Jupiter, that's when Jupiter shifts back into Pisces. So Mars is turning retrograde, which means it will come back at 25 degrees. And Neptune right now is at 23 degrees. And so Mercury or Mars will come right back into that square next month in November. And that means that it actually doesn't come out of this square for 2 whole months. And we'll see what it is. But we've gotten this message about Mars retrograde being this massive initiation. We have a complete rewriting and a rewiring of our feminine identity. And then we have Mars, our warrior, our masculine planet, going deep into a journey of self discovery and initiation, coming back into our voice, our truth. Really, we're talking about the potential of human potential that's been stolen from us, that we've been um, taught to forget. And it's those truths that our true history, our true potential has all been hidden. And this Mars retrograde is like pressure to come forward with expression. But in square to Neptune, Neptune represents the delusions, the propaganda, the false beliefs, and the programming of the Piscean age. And so Mars is like ready to express some stuff. It's like the expression of these truths represents the feminine that's been suppressed. And we have this feminine identity activation. And so it's really powerful, the square to Neptune, because it's saying, this was the whole deal with the Piscean age. Very beginning of the Piscean age is when these whole Christ consciousness ray came into this world. And then the reaction of the controllers was to cut the feminine out of these spiritual teachings and separate all of us from each other. And these teachings have been buried and hidden. And it's time for this all to come to light. I definitely got messages in readings, intuitive readings over the last few years about buried hidden scrolls that have yet to be found, that real soon are going to be uncovered, that are going to clarify so much stuff. Um, all these mystical, magical, occult, and the positive occult teachings of the divine feminine that have been buried. And then they were called evil, wrong, and bad, when it was actually the highest echelon of the Catholic Church that is the pedophile Satanists. We got to get this all sorted out. And those souls, if you can call them souls, those beings, were persecuting the true light and the true healing and the true spirit. And anyone who threatened this system by teaching a direct connection to source was targeted and killed. We got to flip this around. We're at the end game, and this is this Mars retrograde. So we got to see that. Okay, so the Mars retrograde will begin on the 31st, and for all of October, November, we feel this. For the rest of October and through November, we feel. Actually, we start feeling at the beginning of October. So October, November, Mars square Neptune, coming up against those false beliefs and delusions, that inside out reality that was fed to us in the Piscean age, in order to keep us from accessing this Christ consciousness energy that's more readily available. So they had to go through. That's what, when you look through the astrology and the magical things that happen through astrology and the spiritual impulses coming through, you'll see that just after that happens, the control energies will come in and create more trauma and darkness and catastrophe and disease to keep us from that light. Except for that, we're at the end game now. You can feel it. Too many people are taking back their power every day, taking back their mind, taking back their thoughts, taking back their emotions, and recognizing how controlled we've been. It's hard to do it. It's hard to claim your autonomy. There's a lot of spiritual teachers and energies, or, spiritual movements out there that are all about, of course um and it's the core of my teachings too, non-duality, coming back to source, coming back to presence, coming back to that perfect balance within, getting out of the ego constructs and into our true God self. But there's also this energy out there of like, well, we can't identify an enemy because we are the enemy and we're only our own worst enemy. It's like, but we have to deal with the reality. If we don't face how much we've been manipulated and controlled, we can la la land ourselves all the way into being controlled, the cyborg species. We've got to face where we've been manipulated and controlled. And that's you, supernova soul, because it's the key to everything. It's like, why has your life been so intense? Karma everywhere and all this shit to deal with. And everybody else seems to be just cruising along, and you're getting your ass kicked again and again and again. We got to get to the bottom of this if we're ever going to take back our power. And when you understand that there's like actual forces and non-human beings that have been quarantining humanity, messing with our DNA, we got to face this or we'll never get out from under it. If we pretend it doesn't exist, it's going to take us over, right? So there's needs to be a huge overhaul in our spiritual teachings work, because a lot of the highest spiritual, energies and groups and stuff have been completely hijacked by programming to keep you thinking, keep these members thinking that they're progressing, you know, and actually it's just a loop. And this is where we've been kept again and again, because it's like we get close to ascension, we get close to breaking free, we get close to claiming back our true human potential, our freedom, our autonomy, our abundance, our free energy, and then bam, they knock us down again. So we have to face the music here. And that's where it's like, when I've just through my whole life, it's like, how do I help humanity spiritually awakened. That's what I felt like my purpose. How has this happened? How does this happen? It felt like watching regular, everyday souls getting deeper and deeper asleep and recognizing the message coming that the masses, the spiritual awakening for the masses, can only come with truth and disclosure about what's been done to us, what's happened to us. We cannot take our power back until we face it. Because until then, we're victims. As much as the high spiritual movement of like, oh, yeah, it's cool, it's like, no, you're not claiming anything of your own autonomy. It's like we're at that place of the wilderness where we've got to face down and face the fact that there's an energy playing Satan, you know? And it's really dark and scary and so far away from who you are, supernova soul. And we've been living in the soup of this gross, nasty mess, trying to just ignore it, trying to make it okay, trying to just get by, trying to survive. And it's like, enough is enough. We're going back to our way now. And so this is what this whole astrology is about, but we've got to go deeper into those distortions before we can set ourselves free. We've got to see it. If we don't see it, then humanity's doomed in the future. If we just pretend it's not happening, then we're a cyborg race. So this is the season of disclosure. And it's so obvious to those who have opened one little eyelid and been like, hmm. This health care system seems to be about poison, sickness, and death. Hmm. Hmm. Maybe they just don't realize, or, "Oh, the FDA is really trying to protect us. It's just, been a little corrupt." It's like, no, it's about poisoning us deliberately and then poisoning us some more to make sure we stay as human slaves rather than the exalted human potential that we know is possible. That's us, supernova soul. And when there's some of us walking around with our light, like literally emanating light, then that dark matrix reality can't hold. See how powerful you are? And all you have to do is be who you really are and claim that. But Mars is frustrated here in this square with Neptune, frustrated with the lies, frustrated with the delusions, frustrated with the programming and the systems that are all set up to make people like us fail again and again. You don't even know the psychological manipulation that has gone in to controlling those of us who will not be controlled, will we? And this is our challenge of these times as we enter the season of disclosure. Because so Mars will be square Neptune here. We'll be feeling all the way through the end of November through eclipse season because we have a total lunar eclipse on that November 8th on election day in the US at 16 degrees Taurus. Now that's an interesting placement because we've got the nodes of the moon in Taurus and Scorpio. And the nodes of the moon are an energy of our whole kind of uh, energy of humanity in a snapshot at this time. And it's the North Node is about how are we going to move forward? What's the mechanism of moving forward? And then what's holding us back? South Node, Scorpio. So what's holding us back is all the lies, deceit, propaganda, and deep tragedy that's been falsely created again and again so that humanity feels that they failed God and they need to be punished. Isn't that? It's just like, oh gosh. But this eclipse, the lunar eclipse happening on election day in the US, November 8th, is at 16 degrees 1 minute. Now, 16 degrees is marks the middle. And of course, the nodes of the moon move backward through the signs, but it's kind of like we're at the middle of the nodes in these signs. That's when you really are like, okay, what is this about? Because we haven't had any like clarity or real bloom of energy of that south node in Scorpio. Just been kind of hanging out, interacting here and there, but not a huge influence. Just like Scorpio will do, hide in the shadows, you know? They're like super powerful, super intuitive. They see and hear everything, but you don't see them. you know? But now we're going to feel it because we've got, as the sun and Venus come together here, move over into Scorpio on the 23rd. We've got that partial solar eclipse on the 25th. Then, of course, we've got Jupiter moving back into Pisces on the 29th, Mars retrograde on the 31st of October, and then Venus and the South Node come together on the 3rd of November. Sun and the South Node come together on the 6th of November, and that leads us right into this total lunar eclipse. And um, it's saying, yes, this is a season of disclosure. And we're going to finally feel what the South Node in Scorpio really means and what this journey is about. And then let's look at the North Node because this lunar eclipse does happen in Taurus, and the sun will be in Scorpio, moon in Taurus. And at 16 degrees, and now Uranus is in Taurus, not too far away. So Uranus will be, I'm not sure exactly where Uranus will be at this time, at 17 degrees. And so just 1 degree away from this full moon. And Uranus and Taurus, we're figuring out what this is about too, because Uranus is higher frequency vibration and activation energy, a shaking up of the status quo and bringing in, like, Uranus was discovered at the time of the discovery of electricity. So it represents energy and it represents our future self and wisdom from our past that we haven't been able to access. And so it's awakening. But in Taurus, it's like around our financial system, our value system, and also our self worth. Do we deserve our new age? Can we handle it? Because we have taken the shame and blame again and again and again. And this is literally the only thing. There was like a big push for a shift in financial system throughout the last 40 years, in the US at least. But um, the last time that it tried to happen, all of a sudden the Twin Towers went down. And that's what I'm talking about, where there's this deliberate attack on expressions of the light. Now, we've always thought that um, it was our fault and we were being punished for being the light, which is the dynamic they set up. But it's like supernova souls, you're not even capable of like even hurting a fly or a flea, you know? It's like their long-term agenda is to injure us to the point of no repair. So we got to separate ourselves from this and we got to drop this shame and this programming and move on. And so it's like we've got, that's how, because this is our main issue. It's like, oh, we've been trying to move into a better financial system that is not keeping us as debt slaves, that's more legal with our original constitution. And but we don't think we deserve it. So this is the process we've been in for the past 20 years. And kind of getting to the point where we can receive our own abundance. And then for supernova souls, it's you receiving your own abundance of your higher power with Uranus and Taurus in embodied in your body in physical form. And that's where we get to the theme. It's like we are free energy. And if we turn our light bulb on and we're walking around, then it's really hard for any soul that has any inkling of invitation to soul growth still in them. They cannot stay in the false matrix reality. We blow the circuitry. And there's been so many messages coming about this. We can't get these technological disclosures, this energy, this free energy that's been available and has been working against us, this technology, this alien technology. We can't get disclosure about that until we come back into our free energy, supernova souls, and claim back the higher technology in our body. That's game over. And this is exactly what this period of time is about. Facing the delusions, facing where we've been controlled, understanding that we've already been in its higher expression. So the fear programming and the trauma energy that has been programmed in us from Atlantean time is a bunch of BS. And it's time for us to claim this back and be the living, breathing example. Of course, everything right now is working against it. And yet it's the most important thing. And the frustrating part is that we don't even understand, right? We've been kept from this memory. We've been kept from our, how do we work this technology that we have? We're coming into understanding we have it. But it's like, and then there's just layers and layers of fear programming. Anytime you get anywhere near that threshold place of accessing your higher intuitive abilities and hooking up your electromagnetic circuitry so that you have your light body intact, you will get knocked down. That's been the system set in place, but they're running out of resources and there's way too many of us at the threshold. Super exciting time. And we got to be there because we have to go into the darkness because humanity has can't see how much we've been controlled. And they've got to if we're going to ever get out of this trap. So we've got to go deeper into the delusions, Mars square Neptune, and so that the truth can come to light. And we are the truth in plain sight. And we got to just start living and breathing this and fortify ourselves and take care of ourselves, claim vitality, our immune system. And just there's a lot of, there's so much working against the physical body right now with poisons and electromagnetic vibrations and nanotechnology and everything. But the solutions to support our body in this are actually pretty simple, pretty actually reasonably priced supplements that are easily available, you know? And so this is the downfall of Western medicine completely, you know? Um, and it's glorious, actually. So we start right now claiming our vitality. And then it's like, got all this weird shit going on because I chose to trust the medical system and you're glowing. And they're like, what are you doing? And so we've gotten the message from the beginning that this Mars retrograde is a deep initiation process for supernova souls. And it's a re-initiation. This is all trap. There's a whole story around um, ancient mystery schools and initiations where it was really about identifying and targeting. This is again and again. So many spiritual organizations you join. It's like, oh yeah, and then it's like, oh, now, um, you know, it's like now we found you and we can manipulate you guys. And it's like then we, of course, supernova souls became non-joiners, not ever wanting to be a part of anything because it always turned against you. And this is an old story of these initiation centers after the corruption of the Atlantean time. And then it was like there was this hold. So it was like about identifying these souls as children and sending them to special training. And you're so special. And da, da. But then what was really happening was dark, insidious control, brainwashing, programming to make sure that that soul could never come into their higher potential. So we got to go back to that initiation school and rewrite that story because it was under the cloak of like, oh, you're being supported in your gifts and you're going to be trained by a master to be able to come in your potential. It's like, mm-mm. We're going to find the most powerful of you and make sure you don't ever do anything again in a now this is too long of a story to get into today, but there's a lot of what keeps us in fear as supernova souls, advanced souls happen in those initiation centers. So we have to go back there in our psyche and our consciousness in a way and claim back the part of our soul that was stolen. We have to reinitiate ourselves, claim back the wisdom and the knowledge that's within us. Really, you didn't come here to have a teacher. You came here to be your own teacher. And that's been a lot of the difficulty for supernova souls, like, because there's nobody around that feels like can even relate on your level at all. That means you're the leader. And that's definitely what we're talking about, activation, healing, and empowerment of the reluctant leader. With this Mars retrograde, Mars in Gemini has an energy of a powerful leader with a voice that can speak for everyone and can inspire and move us forward in the vision, the true vision of what we're here to do, which is exactly this Mercury crossing over the 0 degrees Libra. It's so beautiful. And so it's like this archetypal, this is what it's about and who we are and what we came here to do. And everything's worked against it for thousands of years. And that is over now. And we go back to the initiation, to our initiation. So the picture I got around these initiation centers and all that damage that occurred for supernova souls in these past lives in ancient Egypt mostly, um, this uh, the message that's come through when I've gotten these past life pictures in sessions is that you were already a full initiate when you came to this evolution. And then they're like, you go through this whole initiation. They're like, you've trusted your teachers, you gave them all your power, and then they're like, oh, you're not quite good enough. You didn't quite make it, you know, and to the point where they, instead of initiation, it was actually about killing you in a certain way that kept you always in fear, always feeling alone. So we got to go back to that initiation center, rewrite these stories, claim back our true wisdom and knowledge that's within us that nobody can take ever again, and begin to live and breathe these truths, to be that free energy and demonstrate to the world the truth. I know that the Gemini energy is like, we are getting frustrated at like holding our tongue to just keep the peace. This is that Libra energy and Libra Aries. And it's like, oh, I want freedom. I want movement. I want fire. I want my life back. And that requires the truth. And you just want to scream it out. But um, has been, with the level of programming, it's quite dangerous out there. And that's what's always happened. The masses were programmed against you. Now, when they see you, they feel guilty for what they did to you subconsciously. And so they project all their dark shit on you again. Are we done being the garbage collectors and recyclers? And this is it. This is the empowerment that's available right now, where it's like you're too pissed and frustrated and ready to go to worry about whether you're leaving anybody behind or any bullshit fear programming that's going to hold you back because you've been pushed into that corner and now you're about to strike out into your power. You know, it's a different battle. And that's the powerful thing of this Mars retrograde. It's like the battle is in us living our truth. That's our weapon. It's what takes us beyond all weapons. That's what's playing out right now. Our light body protects us from all. And the intuitive, as we look at the races that are already operating in higher dimensional beings, energies, um, guns no longer work, right? And the security force is a set, typically three intuitive empaths that triangulate and can tell when somebody's lying or if there's a danger. That's the security force. That's the power. That's you. Are you going to take it back now? So we're like, this Mars retrograde is about putting all of those BS stories aside that have kept us from stepping into our light and power. And when we do, there's a deep peace. Everything slows down. It's a oneness and a creation and moving together with source and co-creation. It's so beautiful. And this is what we're relearning and reinitiating into. And so the Mars retrograde going down into the deepest hidden places with the Scorpio activation and under the Piscean age and claiming back those treasures of who we really are and the power of the love within us that protects us from everything. It's the currency of the world, and we are free energy. So, pretty hard to keep us from knowing we have free energy technology when there's those of us walking around glowing like a light bulb. And we've been taught that shift into our light body, into our higher frequency vibration, will destabilize Earth. That's goes all the way back to Atlantean time, and that's total BS. It's actually stabilizing, you know, and it feels peaceful and beautiful, and it feels like the world is working with you again, and you're held and loved and supported. in this earth experience. So there's nothing to be scared of. But we do need to know how much fear programming and layers over lifetimes, right? So this is the power of taking back our mind, our equilibrium in our mind, the Mercury retrograde, and taking back our voice and our will with the Mars retrograde. So, really powerful times here the next few days. We've had Pluto turn direct. Okay, so Mercury has been in a beautiful trine with Pluto, and this is harmonizing like our ability to let go what's not serving. Everywhere we've been putting our energy outside of ourselves. Very, very sweet. Now Pluto turned direct, and it's like helping each other along. Mercury turned direct, and then trine with Pluto in the end degrees of Virgo here, and Pluto at 26 degrees Capricorn. And then this trine is saying, come on, Pluto, let's go. Let's go. Let's do it a different way now. You know, and this Pluto during turning direct means Pluto is heading into Aquarius. This is what we've been waiting for. This is the shift we've been waiting for. And Pluto will move into Aquarius in 2023, retrograde back into Capricorn, and then back into Aquarius in the beginning of 2024. So that's the timeline we're looking at. And it's like really not that far away. And that's why this Mars retrograde, even though it's like retrograde season, but it's like, yeah, because you got to initiate and prepare. You got to go through that remembering and reinitiation and dropping all those old stories and get strong and ready to step into your role in the Aquarian age. That's the message with this. Tomorrow, Sun trine Saturn, and on Friday, Venus trine Saturn. We're harmonizing our role and our identity, our new role in the Aquarian age. And that's a new identity and a new role of the feminine, of course, because she's been kept in the shadows and demonized, sent to the underworld, and the dark mother archetype has been our overlord. And so we got to get out from under that. So, really powerful energy there this week. The main energy is Mercury opposite of Jupiter, right on the Libra Aries point. Oh my goodness. Ooh. And then Mercury direct, Jupiter retrograde, and just activating the midpoint of the zodiac and the Aries point. And this is the activation of the Christ consciousness timeline. Because we talked about how the greater conjunction that happened, that was the Christmas star at the time of Jesus, and which meant the birth of Christ consciousness on earth, basically available for all of us. And so that was a huge marker why the Piscean age got so dark. But that greater conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter happened in the sign of the fishes and the ram. So the same cusp. That means that Jupiter crossing over this 3 times, moving back into Aries for the third and final time over this cusp on December 21st. Solstice. Oh, I can't make it up, right? And so that's this landing home of this timeline and saying, if you want it, you got it. Go ahead and grab it. It's yours. Here's your moment. Don't sleep through this, right? And then Jupiter will come out of retrograde shadow in February of 2023. And so that's going to mark this whole journey into kind of like, all right, now what do we do? So we got to make the most of this preparation time and really go underneath all that programming and grab the treasures and this beautiful exalted Christ consciousness energy that was what we were supposed to receive at the beginning of the Piscean age. And you were there. Supernova souls, you're here at this shift of ages, you were there at that shift of ages. And so you're a big part of this mystical spiritual revelation, this like living God right here available with us. Oh, so powerful. And then bam, it's like, let's find all those people, disperse them and make them really scared to be together and make them scared about their power and scared of the light. Um, and that was the agenda. So now we turn the tables. So, really intense and powerful time. And especially this week, as we've got Mercury over the next couple of days moving over back into Libra and Jupiter going to 0 point. And again, Jupiter will be at 0 degrees Aries from the 18th to the 28th. And so that will be during the eclipse and the Venus Sun conjunction and Venus. Um, uh, then moving us into then Jupiter will go back into Pisces and Venus and the sun will come up to the south node. So it's like leading up to the next eclipse. And so that time between eclipse seasons, this eclipses this year is going to be very potent and powerful and dynamic and dark and scary, only so that we can come into the truth of the light. You know, don't be scared of this. It's like this is our opportunity to overcome all fear programming. We are so much more powerful, and their only game left is to scare us. And it can't even take hold because consciousness has shifted. The big traumas and tragedies they want to create can't happen. They have to fake it because our consciousness, the whole deal with all the drama and trauma that's been created against humanity is done with our own projections. We create reality, they create the fear, they program us. And then it's almost like our consciousness has to execute the trauma event. And this isn't working. Their plans aren't working. All of the school shootings and all that stuff that have happened over the past ever have been created as an agenda, you know, keep us in fear and trauma and give up our guns, you know? It's like, yeah, well, okay, we got light body. So go screw yourself. We've had enough of this bullshit game, you know? So very, very powerful times and going into those darkness so we can be the light that we are and speak truth to those delusions and speak truth. You're gonna have incredible opportunities. It's gonna be so empowering over these last couple of years when you wanted to speak the truth, but you knew it would just create more drama and problems. And now it's like this Mars retrograde, and especially when Mars goes direct in January. Whoa, and it's like you're gonna have a little gateway opening, and all of a sudden and you know what? All this time of all those things you wanted to say that couldn't say over the last 2,000 years, and they're gonna come out in just the perfect words, at just the perfect moment, and then that person can be like, "Whoa, oh, I've been in a bad dream." Yeah, a nightmare. And all of this is about, Jupiter going back into Pisces. We're done. We're cleaning up the Piscean age. And then when Saturn moves into Pisces next year, um, because Saturn turns direct on the 23rd, and that is going to change the whole dynamic because it's moving out of the last Saturn square Uranus, right? So they're going to stay close, but not come back into square again because Saturn's out of here and Saturn is moving into Pisces. Now that's going to be a reworking and a rewriting, claiming back the magic and our role in the Piscean age. Because it's like, if we're going to get back what's been stolen from us, it's a lot of money. It's like if we get back what's been stolen from us, then we get the magic of the Piscean age too. And we get the golden age of the Atlantean time. And that's what we're really talking about here, where we move forward in full support for this utopia that we planted seeds for again and again, and everybody around us. And then history's erased. That didn't happen. There was no utopia. There was no Tartaria. That didn't happen. To make sure we never go back and claim it. But those seeds have been planted and they're ready to sprout. And it's going to be so fun to put the pieces back together and so satisfying. But we got to get through this elephant in the room, through the shadowy darkness, and within ourselves too. So just know that, oh, there's that fear energy she was talking about. And she said it's programming. It's a trigger, a deliberate trigger in your consciousness from outside source. Programming through past lives, through genetics. Um, but now they've gotten so desperate, they had to infect us with technology in order to keep us in fear. But it can be cleansed out, it can be healed. And we have the power over our chemistry and our emotions. And that's what we're taking back. So keep breathing. The answer to everything right now. Ooh, we got all these air trines. We've got all this air energy. Mars retrograde in coming to retrograde in Gemini. And just so whenever you feel anything that's like, oh, it's like, here we go again. Just keep breathing. And don't just breathe in air, breathe in that free energy of the universe. And just know that you are so powerful and you can choose your chemistry and you can choose your emotions and claim your peace, right? And it's like, so do this deep pranic breathing and an affirmation to claim your peace and that nobody can take it from you. Nobody can steal that peace. And this is our greatest weapon. It's like light body and peace. We can overcome all of the tanks and nuclear weapons and all those stories. Really, it's at game over. It's like the veil is thinning, but that what's really happening is we're opening up to see beyond, and nothing can stop it. And supernova souls, advanced souls are just going to be popping off and coming into their potential. It's rapid. And that's where the fear programming kicks in. But if you can remind yourself too, it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm reaching a new level. That's why. That's why the fear is kicking in, because I'm actually getting somewhere. And so know that that's the only tool they have. And when you're in the deep and profound peace of what we work with and the activations, you affect the people around you, right? That's why the power of who we are and what we're here to do is to be who we are and just be that living, breathing example and be the light and not worry about anything else. And let that be our weapon, our own free energy. So, because we are in the last battle of the war, and like I said, all they have left is fear programming. So we're going to overcome that. And that's what this is all about. When you do face down your greatest fears in the wilderness and you go directly to Satan or whatever you want to, metaphorically deal with it, because it really is like what's happening, what's implanting our body is really pure evil. It exists and they're implanting us with it. Um, but to know that once you overcome that, nothing could touch you. And we have to do it alone. It's that moment where you want to reach out, and have somebody help me. And it's beautiful. Supernova souls, we're going to be coming and being able to help people for sure. But for you, you got to know you're strong enough. And once you do that, and once you claim that chemistry and you claim your light body and you just like don't buy into the fear anymore, then nothing can touch you. So it's a place we've got to go to. And how many times do we go and shy away? We've been doing it for lifetimes. Like I said, you get closer and then knocked down. And the programming says, if I go anywhere near that energy, I'm going to get punished and hurt. So I'm going to stay away from it. That's what trauma programming is. Trauma programming, we've all been subjected to it through this whole experience. And to make the trauma so great, you'll do anything to avoid that. And that's what the fear says. Trauma's coming, pain's coming. What do I need to do to stop it? Oh, I need to not pursue my spiritual light. Okay, yeah. No, not going to work. Because your spiritual light is that peace, is that free energy, is your protection against everything. And it's all you need to worry about and all you need to do and all you need to be. And we're discovering this and rediscovering underneath the rubble and the darkness, the Piscean age, the treasures of who we really are. And so we're here together, and I'm so happy that we found each other. We have a powerful field. You can always draw on that. Go do an activation. Go do whichever one calls to you, maybe around your sign from the past. Go do the replay. Don't forget that this is here for you and available as support. And we've been preparing for this for so long, and you're fully prepared. You know exactly what to do, and you're amazing. Superstar, supernova. So thanks so much for finding me, finding us, being brave, and getting to this point. We're so close, and it's going to be so glorious. And so just be in that energy, own that utopia, that peace, that levity, our true birthright um, is to have our permission for spiritual evolution. And we're there at the cutting edge, right there, leading the way. So here we go. So glad you're here with us. And I look forward to seeing you soon on the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.